Welcome back to the Red Dice Diary. This is my third RPGaDay 2015 video, and the third question asked was, what is your favourite new game of the last 12 months? Well, it'll come as no surprise to many, and I'm sure it'll be appearing in many other lists, but my favourite game of the last 12 months is this bad boy here. That's right, it's Monty Cook's Numenera game. Now, I'm not going to go into too much vast detail about it because I've already done a review of it, which you can see here. Now, what I love about Numenera is it takes that whole idea of any advanced science being indistinguishable from magic to heart, and it applies that to a weird fantasy setting where you play inhabitants of the Ninth World, a world built on the detritus and the wreckage of previously advanced civilizations, where the inhabitants enhance their everyday life and dig through the wreckage of these previous civilizations, digging up the ciphers, the Numenera, this advanced technology which to all but the mightiest of the secretive Aeon priesthood seem entirely indistinguishable from magic. And basically what this means is that you get a nice fantasy setting, but one that just has a little bit of edge of extra interest and a little bit of extra intrigue to it rather than the standard fantasy tropes. It just puts a little bit of a different spin on it, as well as supplying some odd and conceivably weird ideas to a normal fantasy setting. For the technology of the previous 8 civilizations would be almost as alien to us nowadays in the modern world as it is to the Ninth Worlders themselves. So it gives you an excuse to import all manner of strange science fantasy ideas into your game, and they don't feel out of place because the setting is built to take them into account, allowing you to explore all manner of different ideas. For instance, I ran a Numenera campaign shortly after I did my review of it, which you can see by clicking there, where and spoiler alert ahead just in case you're trying to watch it, where the entire player party and the entire world that they believe existed was actually a construct inside this huge robotic device, a city in miniature, if you will, that some would say demented genius had preserved against the oncoming tide of a great Cthulhu-esque enemy which had already overrun most of the world. The player characters, quite unknowingly, were actually copies of the people he'd loved and the people he'd remembered that were rebuilt when and if they were necessary. However, the machine had started to break down as the originator, the original technician who was at the core of it, had started to die, and slowly things started going wrong, and this is when the players realised that all was not as it seemed. And this eventually led to one of them, who was a copy of the original creator, taking his place to keep this kingdom going. It was a very entertaining game, albeit with a limited run since it was a very finite campaign. And although it didn't really use the sort of default setting of Numenera, I think it shows the strength of the game and the ideas that it spurred in my own mind, as well as the interesting cipher system, which tries to put a lot of control in the player's hands by allowing them to spend points and resources to determine how much value they place on rolls. So I think it's a testament, as I say, to the strength of the rules and the background, as well as how it spurs the imagination, that I was able to create such a strange setting just using this core book here and the bestiary book that I have on the shelves behind me. If you're at all interested in weird fantasy or even science fiction with a bit of a twist to it in the sort of Larry Niven Ringworld style, then I do suggest you give it a look. It's not the cheapest book by any means, but it's certainly been one of my favourite purchases of the last 12 months. So I hope to see you in my next video. This is Red Dice Diaries, signing off for now.